I think one of my favorite stories that I'd ever heard was the story of Thich Nhat Hanh. The story goes that he was in consultation with a young woman who'd been suffering something terrible throughout most of her life with a set of very, very dysfunctional parents. And Thich Nhat Hanh sat there quietly and listened to her. And at the end, waiting for some form of validation from Thich Nhat Hanh, she concluded her story, and Thich Nhat Hanh just looked at her and shook his head and said, "Oh my dear, how unskillful." The simplest, the most clearest way we can look at it is to understand and appreciate that there is only one thing happening, and that we as a human race, as a collective consciousness, have a tendency to be somewhat self-destructive in the behavior that we do and utilize in the world around us. And the topic for the month is realizing the power of mind. Realizing the power that we have. Making that connection with our own selves and our own beings so that what we can do is begin to embody what we historically have always known to be true. We know that it begins within us. The goal behind this is so that we might embody the values that we hold, the vision that we recognize, and we can come together as a truly unified collective consciousness and continue to move us forward into this joyous thing called life and towards the vision of a world that works for all. So we'll begin and roll that out starting in March 6th. And March 6th was written by Dr. Joe Hooper from Palm Desert, California. And the value that we are talking about is we believe that God is personal to all who feel this indwelling presence. Dr. Holmes says that it's mathematically certain that we cannot contract the infinite, but we can expand the finite. We have to expand the self and attach our ego to the real self, which is God. We must do something definite to assure the intellect and emotions that there is nothing in the universe to be afraid of. The indwelling God is the greatest single factor in our whole lives. It means that there's nothing between us and that which we call God or Spirit. There is no intermediary. There is no place to go to find it. Spirit is not lost, God is not lost, and neither are we lost or separated from that high power. The more completely we're able to see God in everything, the more completely will the one God in all things respond to us. On March 13th, we're going to talk about, we see a world in which humanity rediscovers the creative power of thought. And this is put together by Dr. David Bruner from San Jose, California. His quote is, "Everything in our lives is a creative activity of one form or another. Some people create good for themselves, others create bad, while most of us seem to create a little of both. But as we grow in knowledge and conviction, become familiar with the way the law works, we are more and more able to swing the creative activity of our thoughts to a favorable side. For centuries, the comprehension and utilization of electricity were beyond man's power. And when he finally reached the point of being able to direct its action to a certain degree, what we discovered that it could heat and light our homes. It could also deprive us of life if we handled it wrong. Water may be considered in the same manner. It's necessary to life, but it can also cause a human being to lose their life. These are two things which rightly used are of benefit, but whose action may be consciously or unconsciously directed to our detriment. A law doesn't care about the results of its action. It has no conscience. It knows only to act. It is impersonal, and we are free to choose the directions of its action." Can you imagine for a moment if the whole world thought in terms of, I must behave the way that I want to receive what it is that I want to have? Well, how we would transform in this world? March 20th, we're going to do one by Reverend Martha Quintana from Albuquerque, New Mexico. And the value that we're talking about is that we believe in control of conditions through the power of this mind. We exist not so that what we can do is control everything on the outside and make it better, but so that what we can do is we can go and discover our own self-expression in what's there. And when we begin to do that and begin to take that as our attitude for life, life transforms. It becomes something new, it becomes something fresh, and it becomes something different. The last one that we're having is March 27th, and that is, we see a world in which individuals rediscover their personal power to create an individual life that works within a world that works for everyone. And the quote is, "It is, however, an outstanding truth that every privilege brings its corresponding responsibility. The right and power to make your own decisions, bad or good, puts you in a very, very vital position, because you now realize you are no longer an automaton, moved about by the caprice of circumstances, solely guided by instincts, or subject to some will superimposed upon you. You are free to choose, but you have to take the consequences of that choosing. You shall have and do have whatever you recognize and accept as yours." Every single minute of every day, you have an opportunity to choose a different way to look at it. It's your opportunity to hate, or it's your opportunity to love. We too have the ability to live within the principled understanding of not falling into the trap that is given to us of what a horrible life or horrible experience, and instead, like Thich Nhat Hanh, be able to step aside and view it as unskillful. This is the opportunity that we have in life. And these are the skill sets that we need to develop in order to transform the world, in order to create a world that works for all. This is what's known as awakening. When we awaken to the fact that we have the choice, when we have the option to choose one way or the other, the choice resides within us. It's our choice. We're the ones who transform the world by the renewing of our minds. This is the truth. It's been the truth forever. Let me tell you, every avatar has said the same thing. And the end result out of that is when we begin to listen, the world will work for all. And most especially, it will work for us. So I bless you and I thank you for being here. God bless you.
Our sincere thanks to Caesarius Productions for the assistance.